The overhead lights flickered across polished marble as Astra Valen paced the length of Earth's interstellar embassy. Her iridescent skin caught the artificial light, a reminder that she was far from her home system. 3 months of delicate negotiations had led to this moment, humanity's first diplomatic summit with the Centaurian Alliance. While other alien species dismissed humans as primitive newcomers to the galactic stage, Astra saw something different in them, an untapped potential that her people desperately needed. The secure terminal on her wrist vibrated with another warning from the High Council. "Exercise extreme caution," the message read. "Human military capabilities exceed initial estimates." Astra allowed herself a small smile. If they only knew that was precisely why she'd pushed for this alliance. She smoothed her formal attire, designed to blend Centaurian elegance with Earth professional standards, all while concealing the combat enhancements beneath her skin. The Council believed they'd sent their most gifted diplomat. They didn't know about her years commanding elite units during the border wars, or the nightmares that still haunted her from those battles. That carefully hidden past was about to become her greatest asset. The embassy's main doors whispered open, admitting the Earth delegation. Lieutenant James Harrison led the group, his broad shoulders filling out his dress uniform in a way that drew Astra's gaze despite her diplomatic training. His dark eyes swept the room with practiced efficiency, and she recognized the subtle signs of a special operations veteran, the measured stride, the controlled awareness, the way he positioned himself to cover his delegation's vulnerabilities. "Welcome to the summit," Astra said in carefully modulated English, extending her hands in the traditional human greeting. "I am Diplomatic Liaison Astra Valen." James stepped forward, moving with the fluid grace of a trained combatant. "Lieutenant James Harrison, Earth Diplomatic Security Force." His handshake was firm but carefully controlled, mindful of potential differences in their physiologies. "Thank you for hosting us, Liaison Valen." The following hours blurred into a parade of introductions, cultural exchanges, and preliminary negotiations. Yet Astra found her attention repeatedly drawn to James. He noticed things other humans missed: the subtle defensive architecture of the embassy, the hidden security measures, the carefully calculated positions of her own security detail. More than once, their eyes met across the room in moments of shared understanding. During the evening reception, Astra was explaining the principles of Centaurian quantum economics when her enhanced hearing picked up the distinctive whine of a prohibited particle weapon charging. Without conscious thought, her body shifted into a combat stance. James was already moving. Their eyes locked across the crowded reception hall, and in that instant, they recognized each other for what they truly were. As the first shot seared through the space where Astra had been standing, she shed her diplomatic persona like an ill-fitting garment. "Down!" James's voice carried the unmistakable authority of battlefield command as he tackled an Earth diplomat to safety. Astra's ceremonial bracelets transformed into scanning arrays, tracking the assassin's position while she herded civilians toward the exits. They worked in seamless coordination, as if they'd trained together for years. The would-be killer, a radical opposing interspecies cooperation, was neutralized within minutes. But the damage to Astra's carefully maintained cover was done. Later that night, she found James in the embassy's rooftop garden. He stood at the railing, looking out over the glittering cityscape of New Geneva. His formal uniform had been replaced by standard duty wear, but his alertness hadn't diminished. "You're more than you appear," he said without turning. Astra joined him at the railing. "As are you." Special operations, before diplomatic security. He turned to study her with renewed interest. "Your service record is classified beyond my clearance, but I'd guess, special warfare?" "Something similar." Astra watched an orbital shuttle arc across the night sky. "There are threats approaching, Lieutenant Harrison. Threats that forced me to exchange my warrior's mantle for a diplomat's robes." "James," he corrected quietly. "And sometimes the most crucial battles happen in conference rooms, not on battlefields." Astra felt the dynamic between them shift, professional respect deepening into something more complex and personal. There are forces moving in the galaxy, James. Forces that neither of our species can face alone. He turned to face her fully, his expression grave but determined. Then it's fortunate we found each other when we did. As Earth's night wind carried the scent of rain, Astra contemplated the magnitude of what she'd begun. Two civilizations' futures might hinge on this alliance, but as she stood beside James, watching satellites trace their paths across the stars, she wondered if the universe had plans that exceeded even her careful calculations. The question remained, how long could she maintain her diplomatic facade when every instinct warned of approaching war? And how could she protect this crucial alliance, and her growing feelings for James, when the truth about her past threatened to unravel everything she'd worked to achieve? The secure briefing room deep within Earth's interstellar embassy hummed with tension. Astra's fingers danced across the holographic display, bringing up intercepted transmissions from the outer colonies. James stood beside her, close enough that she could sense the warmth radiating from his body, his presence both comforting and distracting. The Nexus Empire's fleet movements don't match their claimed trade routes, she explained, highlighting several anomalous patterns. They're positioning for something big, James. Something that threatens both our peoples. How long have you known? His voice was soft, but she detected the slight edge of betrayal. 3 weeks had passed since the assassination attempt, and their professional relationship had grown increasingly personal during their long strategy sessions. I've suspected for months. But confirmation came only yesterday. Astra's iridescent skin dimmed slightly, a sign of emotional distress she couldn't completely suppress. The High Council wanted to wait, to be absolutely certain before alarming Earth's leadership. James absorbed this information with military precision, his tactical mind already processing implications. That's why you pushed so hard for this alliance. You weren't just seeking diplomatic ties, you were preparing for war. The Nexus Empire has already conquered 3 civilizations in the past Earth decade. They consume resources, technology, and cultural knowledge, leaving broken worlds in their wake. Astra's hands clenched. My people are strong, but alone, we cannot hope to resist their full might. Humanity's innovative combat strategies and adaptability might be the key to survival. A soft chime interrupted them as Admiral Reese's hologram materialized in the room. Lieutenant Harrison, Liaison Valen, we have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected a Nexus scout ship near Jupiter's orbit. It's cloaked, but our new Centaurian detection arrays picked it up. James and Astra exchanged glances. They're probing our defenses, James said, already moving toward the tactical display. Testing our capabilities and response times. Correct, Lieutenant. And there's more. The Admiral's expression hardened. We've intercepted communications suggesting Nexus infiltrators have already penetrated both Earth and Centaurian government structures. Trust no one outside this room. After the Admiral's hologram faded, silence filled the chamber. James turned to Astra, his dark eyes intense. We need to know everything you know about Nexus combat tactics. No more diplomatic filters. Astra hesitated for a fraction of a second before reaching up to remove her ceremonial collar. Beneath it, a neural interface gleamed against her skin. What I'm about to share is classified at the highest levels. During the border wars, I commanded our most elite combat unit. We intercepted and eliminated a Nexus advance force. I know how they think, how they fight, and most importantly, how they can be defeated. James stepped closer, his hand brushing against hers. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because once I reveal this knowledge, there's no going back. The Nexus Empire has agents everywhere. If they learn who I really am, what I know. She met his gaze. Everyone I care about becomes a target. Understanding flickered across his features. His hand found hers, squeezing gently. We're already targets, Astra. But we're stronger together. Over the next several hours, Astra shared everything: battle tactics, weapons capabilities, psychological warfare techniques. James absorbed it all, occasionally adding insights from human military history that made her see familiar strategies in new ways. As they worked, their professional barriers continued to erode. Each shared battle story brought them closer, building a bridge between their species through shared experiences of combat and loss. When Astra demonstrated a Nexus hand-to-hand combat technique, James's hands on her shoulders sent electricity through her enhanced nervous system. "Your combat style," he observed, studying her movements, "it's unlike anything in our database of Centaurian martial arts." "Because it's not Centaurian," she admitted. "I developed it by combining our traditional forms with techniques I observed in other species, including humans." She demonstrated a complex sequence that blended flowing Centaurian movements with explosive human-style strikes. James caught her arm mid-motion, his touch gentle but firm. "You've been studying us for a long time." "Yes." She didn't pull away. "Your species fascinated me long before this assignment. Your ability to turn disadvantages into strengths, to find unconventional solutions, it's unique in all my combat experience." Their faces were inches apart now. The air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities. But before either could act, emergency klaxons shattered the moment. Multiple Nexus signatures detected. The AI's voice filled the room. Hostile forces approaching outer system defense perimeter. They sprang apart, transforming instantly back into warriors. But as they rushed to the command center, Astra felt James's hand brush against hers one final time. In that touch was a promise: whatever came next, they would face it together. The real war was about to begin, and the fate of two civilizations would rest on the strength of an alliance forged in secrets, tested by fire, and perhaps, sustained by something deeper than mere diplomatic necessity. The command center blazed with holographic displays showing the approaching Nexus fleet. Astra's enhanced vision tracked multiple tactical overlays simultaneously as she coordinated with both Earth and Centaurian defense forces. Her secret was out now: the High Council had been informed of her true identity, and the response had been explosive. 3 battle groups approaching from the Kuiper Belt, James announced, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Their energy signatures match Astra's tactical data. These aren't scouts anymore, this is an invasion force. The past week had transformed the Sol system into an armed camp. Earth's orbital defense platforms had been upgraded with Centaurian technology, while human AI systems now enhanced Centaurian battle coordination. The combination was potent, but untested in actual combat. "Admiral," Astra called out, her tactical display highlighting a particular movement pattern. "They're using the 7th spiral formation. I've seen this before, it's a prelude to their planetary siege strategy." Admiral Reese nodded grimly. "Lieutenant Harrison, deploy the fleet according to Formation Delta. Liaison Valen, or should I say Commander Valen, your battle group will take position behind Europa." As the orders went out, James caught Astra's arm. "We need to talk. Now." His expression brooked no argument as he led her to a private tactical room. The door had barely closed when he turned to her. "You're going out there with them, aren't you? That's why you've been training our pilots in Centaurian combat maneuvers." "I have to." Astra's skin rippled with suppressed emotion. "I'm the only one who's ever successfully commanded a defense against their siege formations. The combined fleet needs my experience." "Then I'm going with you." James's jaw set in that stubborn way she'd come to know well. "I've already submitted my transfer request to Naval Special Operations." "James." She stepped closer, her hand rising to touch his face. "Your skills are needed here, coordinating ground defense preparations. If we fail to stop them in space. If we fail in space, ground defense won't matter." His hand caught hers, pressing it against his cheek. You've spent the last week training our forces, sharing everything you know. Let me do the same for you. Human tactical innovations combined with your experience, it's our best chance." Before she could respond, a priority alert flashed across both their neural interfaces. The Nexus fleet had launched their first wave of automated strike craft. The invasion had begun. They moved together toward the door, but James caught her hand one last time. "Whatever happens up there, whatever we learn about each other's pasts, I trust you, Astra. With my life, with Earth's defense, with everything." Her hearts clenched, both of them, a physiological response her species usually kept hidden from humans. "There's something else you need to know." She activated her neural interface, projecting classified footage from her final battle during the border wars. "The commander of that Nexus advance force we defeated? He survived. And he's leading this invasion." James watched the holographic display, his expression darkening as he recognized the implications. "This isn't just an invasion, is it? It's personal. His name is Thorax. He's one of their most brilliant tactical minds, and he's spent the last 5 years studying both our species, learning our weaknesses." Astra's voice hardened. "He knows who I am, what I can do. And he knows about us, about this alliance." "Good." James's smile held no humor. "Then he knows he's facing the combined strength of both our peoples. And he's about to learn what humanity does when backed into a corner." They rushed to their respective commands, Astra to her flagship, the Star Weaver, James to his special operations vessel, the Shadow Strike. As her shuttle lifted off from Earth's surface, Astra watched the blue planet shrink beneath her. Everything she'd worked for, everything she'd come to love about humanity, was at stake. The combined Earth-Centaurian fleet assembled in high orbit, a testament to how much could be accomplished when two species set aside their differences and worked together. Astra's enhanced vision caught sight of the Shadow Strike taking its position among the human vessels. Her tactical link with James remained strong, their shared battle consciousness already adapting to include their different combat philosophies. As the first wave of Nexus fighters appeared on their scopes, Astra felt a strange calm settle over her. This was what she'd been preparing for all along, not just the defense of two civilizations, but the forging of something entirely new. A partnership that transcended species, combining the best of both their peoples. "All vessels, battle formations," she commanded, her voice carrying across all frequencies. "Remember your training. Today we prove that together, we are stronger than any force that threatens us." The Nexus fleet emerged from their final jump point, their massive ships darkening the stars. At their head was Thorax's flagship, its design unchanged from their last encounter. Astra's targeting systems locked onto it automatically, driven by memories of their last battle. "Ready, Commander?" James's voice came through their private channel, steady and confident. "Ready, Lieutenant." She allowed herself a small smile. "Let's show them what humans and Centaurians can do together." The order to engage rippled across the combined fleet. As the first shots were fired, Astra knew that win or lose, this battle would change the galaxy forever. And somewhere in the chaos of war, she and James would discover if their bond was strong enough to survive what was coming. Space erupted into a canvas of destruction as the combined Earth-Centaurian fleet engaged the Nexus Armada. The Starweaver's combat systems interfaced directly with Astra's neural enhancements, giving her an almost omniscient view of the battlefield. Through their tactical link, she sensed James leading his special operations team through the chaos, executing maneuvers that shouldn't have been possible for human vessels. "Nexus forces are adapting to our combined tactics," James reported, his voice steady despite the strain of combat. "They're learning fast, just like you warned us. Then we'll have to learn faster." Astra's hands flew across the tactical controls, coordinating with both human and Centaurian squadron leaders. Battle Group 3, execute Pattern Sigma. Human fighters, prepare for the slingshot gambit. The battle unfolded like a deadly dance. Human vessels demonstrated maneuvers that defied conventional space combat doctrine, while Centaurian ships provided precision strikes with their advanced weapons systems. But the Nexus fleet was massive, and Thorax's tactical brilliance showed in every countermove. Incoming transmission, her AI announced. Source: Nexus Command Vessel. Thorax's hologram materialized on her bridge, his cybernetically enhanced features twisted in a cold smile. Commander Valen. I was hoping you'd be here. Your defeat of my advance force was impressive. But now you'll witness true Nexus power. The only thing I'll witness today is your retreat, Thorax. Astra's skin flickered with barely contained emotion. You're facing something you've never encountered before, two species fighting as one. Ah yes, your precious alliance. His smile widened. Tell me, does Lieutenant Harrison know the full truth about the border wars? About what you did to ensure victory? James's voice cut in through their private channel. Don't let him in your head, Astra. Whatever happened in the past, we face this together. She had no time to respond as the Nexus fleet launched their masterstroke. Quantum torpedoes ripped through space, targeting the weak points in their formation that only someone intimately familiar with both human and Centaurian tactics would know. He's been playing us, Astra realized. Every probe, every skirmish, he was learning how we fight together. Then let's show him something new. James's tactical overlay highlighted a dangerous but brilliant strategy. Remember that crazy idea we discussed? The one you said would never work? The neural sync? Astra's hearts raced. James, it's never been attempted between different species. The feedback alone could kill us? Maybe. But if it works, we can coordinate the entire fleet with perfect precision. His confidence flowed through their link. I trust you, Astra. Complete trust. That's what you said was required for the sync to work. Around them, the battle hung in precarious balance. The combined fleet fought brilliantly, but Thorax's experience was telling. One by one, ships winked out of existence, their crews giving their lives to buy time for Earth's evacuation. Astra made her decision. All ships, fall back to secondary positions. Lieutenant Harrison, prepare for neural sync protocol. The Starweaver and Shadow Strike moved into position as Astra and James activated their neural interfaces. The experimental technology they developed in secret would either give them perfect battle coordination or fry their nervous systems. Ready? James asked softly. Ready. The sync hit like a supernova. Suddenly Astra wasn't just sharing tactical data with James, she was sharing everything. His memories of Earth's oceans, her first space flight, his combat training, her secret fears. Their minds merged into something greater than either species had achieved alone. Through their combined consciousness, they directed the fleet with unprecedented coordination. Human intuition merged with Centaurian precision. Ships moved in perfect harmony, executing strategies that evolved in real time. Thorax's forces faltered against this new form of warfare. How do you fight an enemy operating with one mind but drawing on the strengths of two species? Impossible, Thorax's voice crackled through the calm, your species are too different. This level of coordination is exactly what you feared, Astra and James responded in unison, their merged consciousness speaking through both of them. Our differences make us stronger. The tide of battle turned. Under their joint command, the combined fleet pressed their advantage. Nexus ships began to fall, their perfectly ordered formations breaking under attacks they couldn't predict or counter. But victory came with a price. The neural sync burned through their bodies, taxing both human and Centaurian physiology. Warning signals flashed across their joined consciousness, neural degradation, organ stress, critical system failure. We need to disconnect, Astra managed, feeling James's systems failing alongside her own. Not yet. His determination flowed through their link. Just a little longer. Thorax is about to. A massive explosion cut through space as their combined attack finally breached the Nexus flagship's defenses. Thorax's vessel split apart, secondary explosions chaining through its superstructure. The last thing Astra remembered before the neural sync overloaded was James's consciousness wrapped protectively around her own, trying to shield her from the backlash. Then darkness claimed them both as their ships drifted in the aftermath of their impossible victory. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. And somewhere in the void, two unconscious figures floated in their respective command chairs, their minds still linked in ways that would change both their species forever. Consciousness returned slowly, like light filtering through deep water. Astra opened her eyes in the medical bay of Earth's orbital station, her neural pathways still tingling from the sync. Beside her, James lay on a biobed, his vital signs steady but his mind quiet, the first time she couldn't feel his thoughts since their merge. "Welcome back, Commander," Admiral Reese said softly. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." The neural sync, it did something we're still trying to understand. Astra tried to sit up, her enhanced body fighting against the weakness. The fleet? Earth? Safe. The remaining Nexus forces retreated after Thorax's defeat. But that's not why I'm here. The Admiral's expression was grave. The sync didn't just link you and Lieutenant Harrison. It proved that our species can achieve something unprecedented, a true merging of minds and abilities. Both Earth's leadership and the Centaurian High Council are concerned about the implications. They're afraid, Astra realized. Afraid of what this means for both our species. They want to classify everything about the neural sync. No more experiments, no more development. They're calling it too dangerous for either species to pursue. A familiar presence touched her mind, James, awakening on his bed. Even without the sync technology, some connection remained between them. "They're wrong," he said, his voice hoarse. "What Astra and I discovered, it's not just about military advantage. It's the next step in evolution for both our species." The next few weeks passed in a blur of debriefings, medical examinations, and political maneuvering. The neural sync had changed them both at a fundamental level. They could still sense each other's presence, share glimpses of thoughts and emotions. The scientists called it quantum entanglement of consciousness, something that should have been impossible between different species. But as they recovered, a greater threat emerged. Long-range sensors detected multiple Nexus fleets mobilizing. Thorax's defeat had drawn the attention of the Empire's highest command. They were coming, not just to conquer, but to eliminate the threat of human-Centaurian cooperation forever. 1 month after the battle, Astra stood before the combined Earth-Centaurian Defense Council. Her formal uniform felt strange after so much time in medical garb, but her presence was commanding as ever. "The Nexus Empire fears us now," she declared. "Not for our weapons or our numbers, but for what we represent. They've spent millennia conquering through division, turning species against each other. But we've proved that different species can be stronger together than apart." James stepped forward beside her. "The neural sync technology isn't just a weapon. It's proof that our differences don't have to divide us. Every unique aspect of our species becomes an advantage when we work as one." The council chambers erupted in debate. But as arguments raged, something unprecedented occurred. Other species representatives began arriving, survivors of Nexus conquests, neutral civilizations watching from the shadows, even former Nexus subjects seeking liberation. The alliance that had begun with 2 species was becoming something more. In her private quarters later, Astra found James waiting. Their residual link hummed with shared emotion. "The Council approved it," she said. "Full development of the sync technology, plus expansion of the Alliance. We're to lead the first joint training program." James smiled, taking her hand. The touch sent ripples of shared consciousness between them. Thorax did us a favor, in the end. He proved that we're stronger together than anyone imagined possible. The Nexus Empire won't stop, Astra cautioned. The war ahead will test everything we've built. Good. James drew her closer. Because everything we've built is founded on something they can't understand or defeat: trust, cooperation, and... He hesitated, then through their link sent a wave of emotion that needed no words. Astra's response flowed through their connection, equal parts joy, commitment, and fierce determination. As she kissed him, their minds merged once again, but this time gently, naturally. Two different species, two different minds, creating something entirely new. Above them, through the viewport, Earth and the first Centaurian colony ships shared the same orbit. Soon, more species would join them, drawn by the promise of an alliance that celebrated differences instead of fearing them. The Nexus Empire had sought to prevent this very thing: cooperation, understanding, love between species. Instead, they had catalyzed it. Ready to make history? James asked, both aloud and through their link. Astra's smile was radiant. With you? Always. As they looked to the stars together, their shared consciousness glimpsed the future they would build, not just for their own species, but for all who would join them. The Nexus Empire had ruled through fear and division for millennia. But now they faced something unprecedented: an alliance forged in battle, tempered by love, and strengthened by the very differences they had sought to eliminate. The war wasn't over. But its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity and the Centaurians had found something stronger than any weapon: the power of two species choosing to face the future as one. And in that choice lay the seeds of a revolution that would reshape the galaxy forever.